Good evening to all of you. Myself, Dr. Supriya Singh, Co-Convener of RC08. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome our distinguished chair and the speaker. I also welcome faculty members, research scholars, colleagues, and all the participants who have joined us today on this virtual diet. Today's special lecture on the topic Fault Lines of Transformation, Classes and Making of the Modern World will be delivered by Professor Rajesh Mishra sir and Professor S.L.Sharma sir will chair this session. I extend my sincere gratitude and thanks to our Honorable Chair for accepting our request and giving his precious time. Thank you so much, sir. Though both of our distinguished guests don't need any introduction, they are well known to all of us. Still, on the ritualistic part, I request my colleague, Dr. Vinay Singh Chauhan, Assistant Professor, Rajendra Prasad Degree College, to please introduce both the chair and the speaker. Over to you, Vinay.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yeah, please tell me.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. As the eminent chairperson of the session, we have Professor S.L.Sharma, sir. Sir has served as former Professor of Sociology and Dean, Faculty of Arts at Panjab University, Chandigarh. Sir has held several professional positions such as former Secretary, Indian Sociological Society, Managing Editor, Sociological Bulletin, and many more. Sir also held international assignments with various government and professional bodies and recipient of several academic and professional honors, such as Professor D.P. Mukherjee Fellowship Award for Senior Social Scientist and ISSA Honorary Senior Fellowship. Besides, Sir has produced numerous books and research papers on themes such as the modernization, globalization studies, higher education, sociology of corruption, diaspora studies, etc. Sir's contribution in sociology is really immense. Sir, we really feel privileged to have you at today's session as our distinguished, respected chairperson. Now, as the eminent speaker of the session, we have Professor Rajesh Mishra, sir. Sir has been former head, Department of Sociology, University of Lucknow, and director of JK Institute of Sociology and Human Relations. Sir has also held several professional positions, such as former secretary, Indian Sociological Society, and secretary of Uttar Pradesh Samaj Shastra Parishad. Sir has taught over 3 decades at different universities in India and delivered lectures abroad, published numerous books and articles on various issues of sociological relevance. Sir has expertise on sociological theories, sociology of social movements, political sociology, and class analysis. Sir, we really feel privileged to have you as our eminent speaker of the session. One more thing, sir, the session is joined by participants across India in both Hindi and English languages. So we can, sir, humbly request you to please deliver the lecture in both languages so we all will be benefited. Now, I would like to forward the session to our respected chairperson, sir. Please, sir, take over the session. Chairperson, sir.
Thank you, Professor Chauhan. Well, without standing between you and the speaker any longer, I can only say that I deem it a privilege to find this opportunity to meet and hear Professor Rajesh Mishra, who I have known for last 5 decades. We have, of course, been meeting off and on, but there was also a big gap in the occasions to meet for some time. However, it is indeed a pleasure for me to get this opportunity to benefit from your program. Professor Mishra is one of those few sociologists who have interest in theory, and my own understanding is that only he or she knows the discipline who is grounded in the theory of the discipline, no matter which discipline is that. And therefore, anybody who has a grounding in it, I have great respect for all such colleagues as well as the students. In addition, as all of us know, Professor Mishra has had very deep interest and abiding interest in class analysis, beginning with middle class, taking over the entire class spectrum. And now, as we will see today, he is going to extend it further to what he calls modern world order. So let us listen to Professor Mishra on fault lines of transformation, class, and the making of the world society, or the world, modern world indeed. Professor Mishra, please.
Really is a proud moment for me. I recall vividly that exactly 45 years ago, perhaps, or little less, my first important presentation in a seminar, and in where Professor Sharma was there, and I mean, after a long gap, I'm presenting, I'll not say is a lecture, I would say that is a presentation kind, because Professor Sharma is chairing. So it's again, is a really proud moment for me. Then Professor Sharma as chairperson and would be commenting upon, as he commented at that time. By the way, that was also about the middle class, but it was a very early my take on the middle class. Okay, with these words, I'm very thankful, grateful that Professor Sharma accepted your invitation to be chairperson of this presentation. Now, good evening, everyone. I'll begin with a little bit changed statement of a great philosopher. And once he said, and I'm just changing some words, that every society carries within it seeds of its own contradictions. Instead of destructions, I've changed the term contradiction. These I call fault lines. Whether these fault lines of caste, class, ethnicity, a very dear issue with Professor Sharma once upon a time, I'll come to that point, race, gender, or belief, or nowadays faith, you can call. These fault lines are not merely forces of ruptures in a society, but also they are forces of renewal, growth, and development. That is my point. So with this dictum or statement you can call, I'll begin. And right from the beginning, I would explain two terms. One, as I mentioned, the fault lines, what we call fault lines, three terms to be more appropriate. One is fault lines. By fault lines, I can define as some kind of a deep social, economic, and political divisions in every society. They're generally based on class, sometimes caste, sometimes gender also, sometimes religion, ethnicity, geopolitical structures, or other identity makers. I mean, these divisions may remain latent for a longer period of time, but can erupt into visible tensions, mobilization, conflicts, or moments of crisis sometime, and sometimes also forces of transformation. At the moment, my emphasis would be in this presentation, in this lecture, would be the relationship with the transformation, social transformation. I don't want to define social transformation, everybody knows, but because Professor Sharma is there, so I'm entering into a realm where Professor Sharma is a tremendous expert between us, the modern world. It used to be called in our student days modernization. So Professor Sharma has a very great work on modernization and relationship between education and modernization. And I remember that classic study, the very important study. So modernization. So for transformation, I mean it is modernization. And classes is another term which I would briefly mention how I'm using the term. I know there are not many debates about transformation, about class, not many debates. But at the moment, I'm not saying that I'm following a particular kind of theoretical approach. I would rather say is a more, if not consensual, more accepted kind of approach, where I think that for classes, I include in classes what a very famous American sociologist on classes recently died a little while ago, Eric Olin Wright. And while Eric Olin Wright collected different authors or different professors of having different kind of definition and orientation of class, for example, Marxian, Weberian, Bordesian, and also Derendorfian, and many other also. And he said that on 3-4 points we can come to common agreement. One is that classes for all of them, some kind of a distribution location. Distribution what? Distribution of material resources. Material income or wealth, whatever you like to call, you can call. So distribution of resources, wealth, income in particular locale can be considered as well-accepted concept of class by all, every kind of people. Those who follow gradational scheme of class or those who follow just opposite the dialectical approach to the class. So by distribution location, in fact, you grade people in certain socioeconomic divisions. Oftenly, these divisions are considered to be the upper class, the middle class, the lower class. If you want to have more divisions, you can say the uppermost class, the upper middle class, the lower middle class, and the lowest class. So it depends on you how much gradation you want. Even in Marx's concept of distribution of wealth, there are two great classes. Because of their access to material wealth or resources, they are in opposite category. They are two opposed classes. Okay. So the point precisely is that if you define in terms of distribution location, your description of various classes may be different, but the idea is the same, that you are categorizing society on the basis of, you are grading the society into socioeconomic divisions. Okay. There are other also. I'm not going into the detail because I'll come to that point, which is more important for me. There is another aspect of class, which aspect of class is very Weberian kind, which we call life chances. If a particular class has certain material resources, it would have certain life chances, better life chances. For example, it would have great access to education, health, and other aspects of social life. So life chances, when distributed in a society as per their distribution locations, as per their gradations in society, in some or the other way, they get related to each other. It becomes relational. It becomes relational in the sense that in certain life chances, one has some one kind, some other kind. So instead of gradation, there enters a relational aspect also. And the third important aspect is subjectivity. I'm reminded of Marx distinguishing between two dimensions of class in itself and class for itself. So he said that classes are not only locations, economic locations, but they are also marked by their consciousness of their solidarity, their unity, and on the basis of solidarity, they interact with other classes. And many a time that interaction is conflictual, they conflict with each other. So in that sense, it is also relational. Another dimension comes in. And at the moment, I'm taking these three dimensions, what Eric Olin Wright mentioned, that on this basis of these three dimensions, many sociological analysts, many scholars, they commonly agree that in modern times, we find three main classes. Though they may be divided inside, but there are three main classes. One is the capitalist class, nowadays is more appropriately be called the corporate capitalist class. The second is the middle class, and the third can be the working people or working classes. So these three classes, almost everybody admits, even Marxists, they admit on these categorizations. So now this I needed this kind of a conceptual clarification before going ahead. So this should be clear in my mind that by fault lines, what I mean, and what transformation I mean, the modern society which emerged after Industrial Revolution, or to be more exact, with Renaissance, Enlightenment, and modern and Industrial Revolution depends. Okay, and our classical sociologists encountered it in their own way. Marx encountered it in its own way, his own way, Durkheim in his own way, and Max Weber in his own way. Okay, so now this is first clarification. Well, बहुत संक्षेप में, जैसा मैं अपनी बात को शुरू करने से पहले कुछ कॉन्सेप्ट्स को जो मैं इस्तेमाल कर रहा हूं उनको बताना चाहता हूं कि वो कॉन्सेप्ट से क्या मेरा अभिप्राय है। और ये अभिप्राय एक टेंटेटिव है, एक बात कभी इसके लॉजिक पर भी हम लोग चर्चा कर सकते हैं, लेकिन ये इस्तेमाल करना है मुझे अपनी एनालिसिस में, अपनी बात कहने में। और उसमें ये तीन जो कॉन्सेप्ट हैं, एक है फॉल्ट लाइंस का कॉन्सेप्ट। जिस फॉल्ट लाइन से कॉन्सेप्ट से मेरा मतलब है कि हर समाज में लगभग हर दौर में, कोई भी दौर ऐसा नहीं गया है जिस दौर में एक डिविजन्स न हो समाज में। उनके आधार कुछ भी हो सकते हैं और उनके स्वरूप कुछ भी हो सकते हैं। कास्ट हो सकता है, निर्जातीयता होती है, क्लास हो सकता है, प्रजाति हो सकती है, जेंडर हो सकता है, या विश्वास हो सकते हैं, धर्म भी हो सकता है, आज के अगर दौर को दिमाग में रखें तो। ये फॉल्ट लाइंस हैं और ये फॉल्ट लाइंस चली आ रही हैं, और ये अक्सर कभी टेंशन्स में, आज के दौर में खास तौर से कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स में, क्राइसिस के क्षणों में, संकट पैदा करने में, और कभी कभी ये राजनीतिक मोबिलाइजेशन में या परिवर्तन कामी भी हो सकती हैं, परिवर्तन लाने की ओर, रूपांतरण कामी भी हो सकती हैं, रूपांतरण लाने की ओर। इसका मेरा मतलब फोर्थ लाइन से है। और जहां तक ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन का मतलब है, मेरा ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन से वही मतलब है जो क्लासिकल सोशियोलॉजी में ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन से मतलब था, वेबर हो, डर्कहाइम हो, मार्क्स हो, कि इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन के बाद या उससे जरा पहले जो और अ, घटनाएं घटी थी रेनेसां की या मेनली एनलाइटनमेंट की, उसके बाद जो समाज आया वो एक मॉडर्न था। वो मॉडर्न कई मायने में था, वो केवल सामाजिक संरचनाओं में और व्यवस्था में नहीं था, बल्कि सोच में भी था, संस्कृति में भी था, राजनीति में भी था, तमाम तरीके से था। और अक्सर हमारे क्लासिकल समाजशास्त्रियों ने चार पांच प्रक्रियाएं गिनाई हैं मॉडर्नाइजेशन को अभिव्यक्त करने के लिए। उसमें औद्योगिक बदलाव हो सकता है, उसमें डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन हो सकता है, जनतांत्रिकरण हो सकता है, उसमें सेकुलराइजेशन है, उसमें रैशनलाइजेशन है। ये हमारे समाजशास्त्रियों ने इसकी चर्चा की है। जहां तक एक तीसरी अवधारणा जो मैं इस्तेमाल कर रहा हूं, वर्ग की अवधारणा, उसका प्रश्न है, मैं स्पष्ट कर दूं कि मैं कोशिश ये कर रहा हूं कि वर्ग की धारणा ऐसी चुनूं जिसमें जिन वर्गों को मैं चुनूं उस वर्गों की स्वीकार्यता लगभग सभी किस्म के दृष्टिकोणों में हो। हालांकि मुझे इसकी समस्याएं मालूम है, इसकी तार्किक पहलू भी मालूम है। जैसे अगर मैं यहां से बात शुरू करूं कि मैं पूंजीपति वर्ग, मध्य वर्ग और वर्किंग क्लासेस को अपने जहन में रखे हुए हूं, इनमें से दो धारणाएं तो कार्ल मार्क्स की दी हुई थी, लेकिन मध्य वर्ग की धारणा कार्ल मार्क्स की आलोचना में या अन्य प्रकार के समाजशास्त्रियों में, वेबेरियन समाजशास्त्रियों ने भी दी। असल में इन सभी धारणाओं में, वर्ग की सभी धारणाओं में एक तीन बातें कॉमन सी लगती हैं मुझे, विशेष रूप से दो बातें, लेकिन तीन बातें कॉमन सी लगती हैं। एक है कि सभी धारणाएं कहीं ना कहीं एक समाज में धन का, आय का और भौतिक संसाधनों का कैसे वितरण होता है, इस वितरण जो अनइक्वल होता है, इसके आधार पर सामाजिक आर्थिक विभाजन हो जाते हैं और वर्ग तैयार होते हैं। कार्ल मार्क्स के लिए केवल मुख्य रूप से दो वर्ग, एक तरफ पूंजीपति, एक तरफ श्रमिक। लेकिन अन्य समाजशास्त्रियों के लिए वो अपर क्लास, ऊपर का वर्ग, मध्य का वर्ग और निम्न वर्ग, उसके भी और श्रेणीकरण हम इस आधार पर कर सकते हैं। लेकिन सभी में एक किस्म का ग्रेडेशन कॉमन है, ग्रेडेशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन लोकेशंस। एक जीवन लाइफ चांसेस, जीवन अवसर की भी बात की है जो मैक्स वेबर ने की है। जीवन अवसर भी हम आय क्या कमाते हैं, हमारे पास क्या संसाधन है आर्थिक, हमारे वेल्थ क्या है, इस पर निर्भर करते हैं कि हम स्वास्थ्य को या हम शिक्षा को कितना पा सकते हैं। अगर मैं बोर्डियो की भाषा में कहूँ, उसके लैंग्वेज में कहूँ, तो हमारे पास कल्चरल कैपिटल कैसा है, हमारा सोशल कैपिटल कैसा है, ये एक किस्म के लाइफ चांसेस हैं जो न केवल हमारे बीच विभाजन करते हैं, बल्कि इन विभाजन में एक रिश्ता भी कायम करते हैं, वो भी गैर बराबरी का रिश्ता है। और तीसरी बात, हम अक्सर जिस विभाजन में होते हैं, जिस वर्ग में होते हैं, उसकी चेतना से व्याप्त हो जाते हैं, उसकी चेतना से हम युक्त हो जाते हैं। और ये चेतना हमें ये बताती है कि हम इस वर्ग के हैं और दूसरे वर्ग से एक दूरी, एक रिश्ता भी बनाने, उस अकॉर्डिंगली रिश्ता भी हम बनाते हैं। ये वर्ग की धारणा है और इस वर्ग की धारणा के आधार पर मैं कह सकता हूं कि लगभग आजकल सभी समाजशास्त्री इन तीन वर्गों की बात करते हैं, कभी प्रत्यक्ष तौर पर, कभी चुपचाप धीमे से। एक है पूंजीपति वर्ग जो आजकल कॉर्पोरेट पूंजीपति वर्ग के नाम से जाना जा रहा है, दूसरा है श्रमिक वर्ग और तीसरा है मध्य वर्ग। ये तीन वर्ग हैं। अब ये अगर मेरा प्रारंभिक वक्तव्य है स्पष्टीकरण का कि मैं इस आधार पर कुछ आगे की बात कहने जा रहा हूं, तो आइए कुछ आगे की बात कहूं। लेकिन आगे की बात कहने के लिए मैं एक हाइपोथेसिस, कुछ assertion कह लीजिए, और कुछ क्लैरिफिकेशन के साथ बात शुरू कर रहा हूं। मेरी हाइपोथेसिस ये है कि जो पहले अब अंग्रेजी में आ जाऊं मैं, माफी करेंगे कि मैं दो भाषाओं में बोलूंगा, धीरे धीरे ऐसे ही कहूंगा, अगर जब आपको कोई ऑब्जेक्शन हो तो बता दीजिए। So I was saying that my hypothesis is there's a taxonomy of classes, that is the corporate capitalist class, the middle class, the working class, and the relationship among them may explain the contemporary world more efficacious, the contemporary modern world more efficacious. This is my basic hypothesis. And I would explain why I would argue this, and in what way I argue this. So I repeat it again, the taxonomy of classes, the corporate, capitalist class, the middle class, the working class, and the relationship among them may explain the contemporary modern world more efficaciously, more powerfully, you can say, right? Now, another clarification which is important, that there are many descriptions of contemporary modern world, modernity. Just mention that Marx mentioned in his own way the contemporary modern, that time modern world. Weber also explained in terms of rationalization his modern world, and marked by bureaucracy or particular kind of ethics or particular kind of spirit, which is called a spirit of capitalism, or in other ways. However, we can say that this should be clear, that modern world is considered to be marked by 4 processes. One is industrialization. This may be the 4th industrial revolution, but industrialization is important. Democratization, democracy is important for modern world. Rationalization is important word in terms of science or in terms of other kinds of endeavors, and secularization, secular ethics. So these 4 processes have been interwoven in expansion of modern world, sometimes very explicitly, sometimes implicitly, and sometimes not implicitly. But this is what we call the modern world. It may be an ideal type, but this is what we call modern world. So, and this, in fact, these processes started unfolding in Europe primarily, and thereafter across the globe, in a weaker way or a very powerful way. So, right? Now, there is a now, this is one aspect. Now, however, I'm conscious of the fact that is important, that this kind of conceptualization of the modern world does not take into account larger context of dispossession, colonization, enslavement, and appropriation that served the backdrop of the European revolutions, industrial revolution. I'm conscious of the fact. Therefore, in my argument, there is implicit influence of decolonization or post-colonization. Only this kind of statement I'll give. I'll not go into the detail of this aspect, but this should be my clarification. So with these clarification, let us come to the point. And the point is that in what way, now the important point for me is that 21st century of modernity, the modern world, is marked by 4 important crises. People can enumerate many, but at the moment, I'm focusing on the 4 important crises. And these crises are, one crisis is human order vis-a-vis nature. The one crisis which is important for me, the human order vis-a-vis nature. You know very well that we are witnessing the climate crisis, the climate change in our society, in our nation, and our northwest part of the Himalayas, all part of Himalayas, and Punjab, you know what kind of crisis they are undergoing. And perhaps I feel that this crisis, the crisis is nothing but a contradiction between nature and human. So this is one. I can explore this kind of a crisis further, but at the moment I'll just mention. Second is that we are living in a conflict-ridden world order. Our modernity in our times, the modern world in our time, the contemporary modernity in this century, we are living in a conflict-ridden world order. But thousands, lakhs of people are butchered. Not in one part of India, in one part of the world, in many parts. I enumerated the ongoing conflicts in various nations, within nations, and outside nations. I found more than 100. And I consulted many sources. 100 conflicts within nations, more than 100, are going on in our times. The modernity, of course, 19th century or 20th century also characterized by many wars, 2 world wars. But we are also, this century also marked by these kind of things. So this is the second kind of crisis. And the third is the rise of authoritarian nationalism all over the world, in all kinds of societies. I remember, because Professor Sharma is here, he wrote he with Professor Umman edited a very, very nice book to be read always on nation and nation building, perhaps in South Asia, in 90s. So I went through. And he also wrote in somewhere in a paper how ethnicity and nationalism, they are interconnected. In those times, in his papers published in Sociological Bulletin, I remember, in 1990 on ethnicity. So this rise of authoritarian nationalism is also very important. He wrote about this nationalism. You know well, I don't want to explain it, that what kind of authoritarian rulers all over the world, right from North America, the United States of America, who claims that they are the citadel of democracy. Their authoritarian tendency you can observe, and what is happening to rule of law you can observe. So this is another, but I don't want to go into the detail. The fourth crisis is rise and growth of ethnic identities. I just mentioned Professor Sharma's work on it. But this century is also a century of ethnic identities. They started rising before this century, but they have become consolidated in this century. So my point is very simple point, that can we understand these crises? Can we understand these developments within modern world in terms of classes or not? This is what I'll focus on. So these four crises I'll focus on, that how can we explain these four crises in terms of classes? That is my focus. Now, a brief in Hindi. As I said, that I mean, मैंने ये स्पष्ट किया कि मॉडर्निटी से जो मेरा मतलब वही है जो सोशियोलॉजी में है, जो हमें क्लासिकल सोशियोलॉजी के समय से बताया गया है ना। उसमें किसी विवाद में मैं एट द मोमेंट नहीं पढ़ रहा हूँ, सवाल होंगे तो जवाब दूंगा। मेरा मानना है कि अगर सारे जो भी सोशियोलॉजी की नॉलेज है, उस नॉलेज के आधार पर कुछ कहा जाए तो ये कहा जा सकता है कि जो मॉडर्नाइजेशन या मॉडर्निटी है, उस मॉडर्निटी के चार बहुत महत्वपूर्ण फीचर्स हैं, मोर फंडामेंटल फीचर्स हैं, ज्यादा आधारभूत विशेषताएं हैं। उनमें से एक है इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन। मुझे मालूम है कि इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन की नेचर पहले इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन से सेकंड इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन में, थर्ड में और फोर्थ कह रहे हैं लोग बाग, एआई के दौर में इसकी नेचर बदली है, लेकिन इस ब्रोड प्रोसेस को हम एक इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन के नाम पर अभी रख सकते हैं, ठीक है ना। अभी इसके नुआंसेस में नहीं जा रहे, ठीक है। तो मॉडर्न जो भी है उसमें इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन एक इंपॉर्टेंट रोल है, एक इंपॉर्टेंट एस्पेक्ट है। दूसरा है डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन, लोकतांत्रिकरण। यहाँ लोकतंत्र से मेरा अभिप्राय, लोकतंत्र से वो अभिप्राय है जो सोशल साइंस में होता है। सोशल साइंस में जो अभिप्राय है, एक ऐसी सोसाइटी जो रूल सब में, जिसमें सिटीजनशिप हो, जिसमें हर सिटीजन इक्वल हो, जिसमें उसको वोटिंग राइट्स हो, वो अपने जनता को उसको चुनने का, ये एक डेमोक्रेसी का डेमोक्रेटाइजेशन। दूसरा है। तीसरा है रैशनलाइजेशन। रैशनलाइजेशन का मतलब तर्क संगतिकरण, बहुत से लोग अनुवाद करते हैं, विवेक सम्मतिकरण भी कर सकते हैं आप। जहां विवेक महत्वपूर्ण बन जाता है, वो विज्ञान के रूप में हो, सामाजिक विज्ञानों के रूप में हो, प्रौद्योगिकी के ज्ञान के रूप में हो, विवेक इंपॉर्टेंट हो जाता है। इस विवेक सम्मतता कई प्रकार की हो सकती है, मैं उस सभी इशू को नहीं खोल रहा, लेकिन विवेक सम्मतता आधुनिकता की एक आवश्यक पहचान है, और ये माइक्रो से लेकर मैक्रो तक मौजूद रहती है, रिश्तों से लेकर सामाजिक संगठनों में, संस्थाओं में, संरचनाओं में मौजूद होती है। और चौथा मेरा मानना है कि जो चौथी विशेषता है आधुनिक समाज की, और वो विशेषता है आधुनिक समाज की सेकुलराइजेशन। यहां सेकुलराइजेशन से मेरा मतलब वो है जो अंग्रेजी में सेकुलर वर्ल्ड का टर्म जो कहता है, मतलब वो सेकुलर का वर्ड का मतलब ये है कि अदर वर्डलीनेस, जो पारलौकिकता है उसमें कमी आए और यह लौकिकता में बढ़ोतरी हो, और यह लौकिक विचार, यह लौकिक वाद इत्यादि विकसित हो। तो यह लौकिकता का जो विकास है वो आधुनिकता से जोड़ा जाता है। तो ये आधुनिकता की चार चारित्रिक विशेषताएं कही जा सकती हैं। मेरा मानना है कि ये प्रस्फुटित हुई तो 19वीं शताब्दी में या उससे जरा पहले, फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन के दौर में आप कह लीजिए, लेकिन इसका विकास होता रहा विभिन्न चरणों में, और अब तक इसका विकास होता आया है। और ये सबसे पहले घनीभूत रूप में स्पष्ट हुई यूरोप में, और यूरोप ने इसको निर्यात करने की कोशिश की, निर्यात कर दिया इसको, यूरोपियन सिविलाइजेशन। हालांकि उस निर्यात में यूरोप ने बहुत सारे लोगों को उनसे उनकी उनकी स्वतंत्रताएं छीनी, उनका अर्थ, उनका धन लूटा, उनको कोलोनाइज बनाया, उनके लोगों को गुलामी जैसा जीवन जीने के लिए व्यतीत किया, और फिर जहां भी उनको लेबर की तरह ले जाना था वहां ले गए। ये एक अपनी अलग कहानी है कोलोनाइजेशन की। और इस कोलोनाइजेशन के ऑपोजिशन में एक जो सोच डेवलप हो रहा है सोशल साइंसेज में, मैं उससे सहमति दर्ज कराता हूं, जो डीकोलोनाइजेशन और पोस्ट कोलोनाइजेशन का सोच है। लेकिन फिलहाल फॉर द टाइम बीइंग मैंने उसको एक तरफ कर दिया है, और उसके अलग एक क्रिटिक प्रोवाइड करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं, या एक विश्लेषण करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं जो इसके उससे थोड़ा अलग हो। जैसा कि मैंने अभी कहा अंग्रेजी में भी, कि हम जिस जिस दौर में हैं, ये दौर अगर मैं अभूतपूर्व ना भी कहूं तो मैं कहूंगा बड़े महान तो अच्छा शब्द है, महती संकटों का दौर है, जिसमें यह आधुनिक वर्ल्ड विकसित होते हुए इन संकटों से भी गुजर रहा है। इन संकटों को सब्सटेंटिवली एक रेखांकित किया जा सकता है, इनको आनुभाविक तौर पर महसूस किया जा सकता है वो चार प्रकार की प्रक्रियाओं से हम गुजर रहे हैं। एक जो मानव और मनुष्यता या मनुष्य की व्यवस्था और प्रकृति की जो व्यवस्था है, उसके बीच में जो द्वंद्व है, उसके बीच में जो संघर्ष है, उससे, और इसको हम किसी भी संसार के हिस्से में हो, इसको अपनी रोजमर्रा की जिंदगी में महसूस करते हैं। अभी हमने बारिश में हिंदुस्तान में महसूस किया है, अभी भी उसका प्रकोप कम नहीं हो रहा है। अभी अभी उत्तराखंड में बादल फट गए, जिसको कहा जाता है क्लाउडबर्स्ट हो गया कल। और अभी थोड़ा समय बीत जाने दीजिए, 2 महीने, दिल्ली कैपिटल के आसपास चारों तरफ आपको एक धुआं दिखाई देगा, उसको आप महसूस करेंगे। ये अजीब से आधुनिक विकास की कहानी है, जिसमें ये फॉल्ट लाइन इस तरह मौजूद हो गई है कि उसने मानवता के लिए एक संकट पैदा कर दिया है, मनुष्यता के लिए संकट पैदा कर। एक दूसरी फॉल्ट लाइन है जो हमारा संसार की व्यवस्था है, ये बहुत भयानक किस्म के संघर्षों से गुजर रही है, कॉन्फ्लिक्ट से गुजर रही है। संघर्ष क्या, लड़ाइयां कहिए उनको, लड़ाइयों से गुजर रही है। संघर्ष से फिर भी अच्छे जद्दोजहद का भी होता है, लड़ाइयों से गुजर रही है, जिसमें दिन प्रतिदिन बच्चों की, मनुष्यों की, औरतों की, सबकी हत्याएं हो रही हैं, तहस नहस किया जा रहा है। और कभी कभी तो ये डर लगता है कि कहीं ये इतनी न बढ़ जाए। हम लोग भी जाके बैठ गए थे कि ये उस हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी से कहीं बड़े संकट में हमें डाल दे। तो ये भी एक क्राइसिस है, ये एक संकट है। आप लोग भली बात ही जानते हैं, मुझे इसे एक्सप्लेन करने की जरूरत नहीं है। एक और क्राइसिस है जो एक जनतंत्र के समक्ष खड़ी हो गई है आके, कि एक अथॉरिटेरियनिज्म का, एक सर्वसत्तावाद का, और एक उस अथॉरिटेरियन के आधार पर एक पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम इवॉल्व करना शुरू कर गया है, जहां लोगों के मानवीय अधिकार, लोकतांत्रिक अधिकार समाप्त हो रहे हैं, और न केवल स्वतंत्रता पर आघात हो रहा है, बल्कि समानता पर भी आघात, और तमाम चीजों के आघात हो रहे हैं। एक ऐसा देश जो ये घोषणा करते हुए थकता नहीं है कि वो जनतंत्र का सबसे पहला, मुझे याद आता है एक अध्ययन, द फर्स्ट न्यू नेशन करके, लिपसेट का, जिन्होंने पॉलिटिकल सोशियोलॉजी का वो लिखा, और इवन टॉइम्बी का भी, सॉरी टॉइम्बी कह रहा हूँ, टॉकविले का भी, जो लोग ये क्लेम कर रहे थे कि भाई सबसे पहली जो डेमोक्रेसी आई वो फ्रांस में नहीं आई, हमारे यहाँ आई, अमेरिका में आई, और सबसे बड़ी, सबसे विशद, सबसे विकसित डेमोक्रेसी वहां पर हम लोग देख रहे हैं किस किस्म का एक एक नए किस्म का, जो कानून का शासन न मानने वाला तंत्र विकसित विकास हो रहा है उसका। चौथी सबसे बड़ा जो संकट है कि हमारे दौर में एक एथनिक आइडेंटिटीज का, ऐसा नहीं है कि एथनिसिटी पहले से मौजूद नहीं रही थी। मुझे भली भांति याद है कि गुम्प्लो विक्स ने, जो एक 19th सेंचुरी का राइटर था, जिसको हम लोग तो सोशियोलॉजिस्ट की मानते हैं, जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पे लिख रहा था, उसने सबसे पहले एथनोसेंट्रिज्म का एक टर्म इस्तेमाल किया था, जो हालांकि बाद में एक अमेरिकी सोशियोलॉजी के खाते में गया, एक एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के खाते में गया, लेकिन सबसे पहले उसने इस्तेमाल किया था। मैंने उसके डिटेल्स में बायोग्राफी पढ़ी और उसके लिटरेचर को देखा, तो वो बहुत पहले 19th सेंचुरी में कर चुका था। तो उसने जो एथनोसेंट्रिज्म की बात की थी, उस समय भी उसने बात ये की थी कि उसने कहा था कि हम अपनी संस्कृति के, अपने समूह के आधार पर जब दूसरों का मूल्यांकन करते हैं और दूसरों के स्टैंडर्ड और वैल्यूज को अपने से निम्न समझते हैं, तो एक सेंट्रिज्म विकसित हो जाता है। आज जो उसने कहा था गुम्प्लो विक्स ने, और उसने कहा था कि शायद पश्चिम का इतिहास इस तरह से भी विश्लेषित किया जा सकता है। यहां मैं बताता चलूं कि वो ज्यूस था, पोलैंड का रहने वाला था, तो कहीं ना कहीं वो महसूस भी किया होगा उस बाद में जो ज्यूस के साथ यूरोप में हुआ। तो ये जो एथनोसेंट्रिज्म था, ये है तो पुरानी बात, लेकिन इस दौर में जिस जिस नए रूप में सामने आ रहा है और जिस तरह से एथनिक आइडेंटिटीज की ग्रोथ हो रही है, और वो हर अपने दौर की हर आधुनिक प्रक्रियाओं को प्रभावित करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं या प्रभावित कर भी ले जा रहे हैं, ये एक महत्वपूर्ण क्राइसिस है। अब मेरा छोटा सा प्रस्ताव ये है, अब मैं बात को जरा समेटूंगा, तुम्हें बहुत टाइम हो जाएगा, कि ये कैसे क्लास के टर्म्स में स्पष्ट की जा सकती है। ठीक है ना? थोड़ा अंग्रेजी हिंदी की वजह से भी थोड़ा टाइम लग रहा है, तो मुझे माफ करेंगे ज्यादा टाइम लेने के लिए, मैं ज्यादा लेना नहीं चाहता, लेकिन अपनी बात पूरी कर। तो मैं ये कह रहा था आपसे कि अब आइए इसको हम क्लास के टर्म्स में कोशिश करें। मैंने पहले एक परिकल्पना आपको बता दी है। आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड a hypothesis initially, that hypothesis that a taxonomy of classes can help us in understanding and explaining this. So, but in order to explain that, I'll have to explain simultaneously the sociologic of different classes. When I say sociologic, I mean social logic. I don't mean sociology at the moment. I mean logic of social, being social. So that logic can help us, of classes can help us in understanding. To be simple, to be precise, I want to explain one by one. First, I'll explain the corporate capitalist class. How can it help us in understanding these crises of modernity, you can say, or these fault lines with modern world, which we can explain. Now, you know, I don't need to define the corporate capitalist class, but you know that this class, notwithstanding differences and divergences, this capitalist class has emerged most connected, the most connected class internationally. Nationally is connected, but internationally also more connected. Very conscious and very potent class. It has captured institutions ranging from state, media, creed, and culture. Every kind of aspect of society, it is in control. And this class, in fact, has command at the world scale, on the world scale. And if I mention its traits briefly, so I find that this is the most connected class, number one. Number two, it has heightened consciousness. if this class is attacked, if this class is with this class there is any struggle, it is very, oh yeah, it has developed consciousness, is fight with all its might with the consciousness to all its oppositions. As I told you that it has potency. It has institutionally captured all institutions. I don't want to mention any case study, but I know many cases where even the Supreme Court of US can easily be captured by these classes, whatever the matter is. If they want to supply arms to any conflicting nation, they can supply, and they don't bother about court intervention. This is a true, this is a reality everywhere in the world. Maybe our society or other society. We don't want to. And it has global command, as I told you. And there is another important aspect, that it is responsible for what is the new term nowadays sociologists are using, Anthropocene. Anthropocene, by Anthropocene we mean by a period in which human activity has been dominant influence on climate and environment. All human activities, they have dominant influence on our climate and environment. So this class has Anthropocene responsibility, is responsible for climate crisis, if I can say, very in a pedestrian way, not in an academic way. It can create problems with our climate. So this is one class. This class is, I think, responsible for two great crises of modernity. One is this class, I don't want to go to in detail, but I know very well, you know very well, that in America, the corporate capitalism is mainly captured and controlled by armament industry. There is a data about it. And they, if they wish, the wars can go on. If they wish, wars can stop. So this is what this class, in terms of this class, we can explain. And because of profitability, they enter both in controlling climate, in maneuvering climate, in maneuvering all kinds of things, industries, in such a way that it is not good for our environment, and also war. The second class, let me talk about the second class. The which class is just a moment, the middle class. So the middle class is just a moment. Middle class is, as you know, is mainly characterized by amorphous nature and conflicting interest. It is a class which is divided into various sections, upper and lower, within lower gradations, this class. So this class is highly divided class, an amorphous class. And however, this class has authority over professionalism and technical competence, because it is educatedly it has educatedly acquired technical competence, is a technical term. And because of this technical competence, because of its managerial, technical, and scientific competence, in the process, it uses this quality to bargain with the corporate capitalist class. Sometimes it legates corporate capitalist class. Sometimes it becomes some kind of a comparador of the capitalist class. So its ambiguous identity, its technical competence, its socio-political flexible class, is very flexible politically. Sometimes you can found this class in one kind of political forces. Sometimes this class can be found in just opposite kind of political forces. So it dwindles between. Its nature is such. And its role is a mainly comparator role, which sometimes Marx has also pointed out. Now, the third class, the working class. The working class is mainly characterized by collective identity, community bonds, political agency, limited economic power. However, it becomes the carrier of ethnocentrism. Now, my point of argument is that these two classes, the middle class and the working class, have those kind of features, characteristic feature. They can easily be swayed by forces of ethnocentrism and authoritarianism. So you'll find that in all kinds of society, middle class becomes anti-migrant or pro-racist or pro-ethnic dominant communities that you find. And similarly, the working class, because of some insecurity complex, it also becomes carrier of ethno-nationalism and ultimately authoritarianism. Now, I've come to that point in the last that what I wanted to say, that if you analyze in great detail and depth the characteristic traits of these classes, you study in detail the characteristic of these classes. People have done also. They find that they are certainly correlated with certain aspects of modernity, particularly those aspects of modernity which are creating havoc or problems for modern world. Lastly, but not the least, I would state precisely that corporate capitalist class mainly because of economic policies, often prioritizing profit over environmental sustainability, is problem for the natural order, which ultimately creates problem for us, for humanity. I mean, very precisely. The middle class mainly acts as buffer between corporate capitalists and the working people, but at the same time, it also, there is a data in China supports that the middle class is the, because there is a big middle class in China, about more than 50 crore people of the middle class in China, they consume all kind of industrial products, all kind of energies, all kind of things, which is not very good for nature. So middle class, because of its consumption capacity, it can also consume those things which industrial corporate capitalist class produces, and ultimately that may result into problems for human order. And as I said in conclusion, understanding contemporary global issues through the lens of class taxonomy provides some insights into the dynamics of power, inequality, and changes and transformations. So by examining the roles, interaction of corporate capitalist class, the middle class, and the working classes, we can better understand the underlying causes of environmental degradation, geopolitical conflicts, authoritarian nationalism, and ethnic identity growth. So here I stop. I can say lastly in English, otherwise I'll explain whenever questions are there, because it's 1 hour already. Thank you very much.
Friends, you will appreciate that we have had a very brilliant exposition of the theme of fault lines of transformation and the role of class structure in the making of this, not only the modern world, but the fault lines of transformation in the modern world. In my understanding, the one measure of the brilliancy of a lecture is that it stimulates you to think. It generates certain questions or certain ideas in your mind about which you have also been thinking at one or the other time, or on which you are compelled to think. And judged by that standard, I'm sure I'm voicing the opinion of all of you that Professor Mishra has done an excellent job. Having said that, I would like to throw it open to the House for discussion, interventions, questions, comments, whatever. The floor is yours now. Yeah.
Sir, good evening, sir.
Please introduce yourself.
Sir, I'm Ramesh from Andhra University, sir, research scholar. Sir, I have a question for you, sir. Sir, most of the members belong to the middle class society, will belong to middle class society. So how far the middle class society has been succeeded in destroying the dreams of the working class people and in destroying the Marx utopian society which is always imagined? So how far?
My suggestion is that let us have the questions, and I'll propose that Professor Mishra may take note of all those questions and may respond to them at the end. Otherwise, it will become unmanageable, because if he begins responding to the question right one by one, then it may lead into further discussion and debate and so on. So I think the best thing is you throw up your questions. Professor Rajesh Mishra will be taking note of them, and he would respond to them in that order, or in whatever order he deems right. Yes, others, please.
Sir, I have a question. Can I ask? Hello?
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes.
ओके मेरा सर से क्वेश्चन है कि होप सर कहाँ है अगर मिडिल क्लास और वर्किंग क्लास दोनों क्लासेस सिस्टम को स्टेबलाइज कर रही हैं, इन क्राइसिस को स्टेबलाइज कर रही हैं, तो होप कहाँ है फिर? अगर आप सर तो काफी मार्क्सिज्म से कनेक्टेड हैं, तो एक होप का एलिमेंट जरूरी है. तो किस वर्ग में हम होप देखें, या हम दूसरी कैटेगरीज में देखें स्ट्रैटिफिकेशन की, कहाँ हमें होप मिल सकती है इस वर्ल्ड से जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिडन है, क्राइसिस रिडन है? थैंक यू सर.
Yes, next, please. अभी मौका है आपको, चलिए, अगर बोलिए, अगर कोई है तो कुछ पूछना चाहें तो. हाँ जी.
Sir, this is Saikran, research scholar from the Department of Sociology, Andhra University.
जी.
My question is, how would you relate this to the functional theory of stratification?
What?
Please repeat your question.
I couldn't.
Clear.
The functional theory of stratification, sir.
Series of
fault.
Your voice is not audible, sir. Can you check your question in the chat box?
Sir, how would you relate this concept, with the functional theory of stratification.
Okay.
Any more? Okay, I think if there are no other questions, let us call upon Professor Mishra to respond to the questions that have been asked.
Thank you, sir. I couldn't understand the last one. The second one, जिसमें उन्होंने कहा कि भाई होप कहाँ से है, तो असल में ये डिफिकल्ट सवाल है कि होप कहाँ से है. इतना भी पेसिमिज्म नहीं है, लेकिन इन प्रॉब्लम्स को क्राइसिस के रूप में जब देखा या एनालाइज किया जाता है, तो नॉर्मली ये बात ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट बन जाती है कि ये क्राइसिस ऐसी इश्यूज, ऐसी प्रॉब्लम्स किस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में इमर्ज कर रही हैं, तो वो कॉन्टेक्स्ट की एनालिसिस इम्पोर्टेंट हो जाती है. लेकिन ये भी देखने में आ रहा है कि तमाम वर्ल्ड ओवर एक कॉन्शियस सिटीजन्स भी हैं जो इन प्रॉब्लम्स पर मोबिलाइज होते हैं अपनी अपनी कैपेसिटी पे, कभी कुछ कलेक्टिवली, कभी कोई स्मॉल ग्रुप्स में, कभी प्राइवेटली भी. वो एक जो स्वीडिश युवा लड़की है, वो भी एक उम्मीद की तरह ही है कि वो अपने सारे पर्सनल बिहेवियर में और कोई भी इशू हो, उस इशू को रिस्पॉन्ड करने में वो अपने तरीके से रिएक्ट करती है. इसी तरीके से जो एनवायरमेंटल प्रॉब्लम्स के इश्यूज हैं, ऐसा नहीं है कि जो स्टेट सेक्टर है, जो राज्य का सेक्टर है, चाहे वो नेशंस के लेवल पर हो. जैसे अभी मेरे को बहुत सारी सूचनाएं मिली हैं, कभी उस बारे में कोई बातचीत हो जाएगी, कि चाइना में भी ऐसे बहुत सारे स्टेट ड्रिवन पॉलिसीज आई हैं और चल रही हैं, जहां एनवायरनमेंट को रिजुविनेट करने की कोशिश की जा रही है. ऐसे प्रयास हमारे यहाँ भी बहुत सारे एनजीओज हैं, बहुत सारे ग्रुप्स हैं जो हर लेवल पर अलग अलग तरीके से वो प्रयास करते हैं. तो इस किस्म के एफर्ट्स भी हैं. ऐसा नहीं है कि पॉलिटिकली एफर्ट्स ना हो, या सरकारें एफर्ट्स ना करती हो, या यूनाइटेड नेशंस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन अपने एफर्ट्स ना करता हो. तो जो पॉलिटिकल सिस्टम है, चाहे वो नेशन के लेवल पर हो या इंटरनेशनल लेवल पर भी हो, कोशिश वो इंटरवीन करने की करता है. मैं आखिर में एक सबसे बड़ा उदाहरण दूंगा. वो था एक बहुत बड़ी क्राइसिस आई थी अभी 4-5 साल पहले, कोविड की, और वो वर्ल्ड क्राइसिस थी. अपने अपने तरीके से सब लोगों ने उसको चैलेंज को एक्सेप्ट किया, और उस चैलेंज को कभी तो उस दौर में जाकर लगता था कि ये क्राइसिस ओवर होगी कि नहीं होगी, लेकिन कुछ समय बाद इतने प्रयास से वैक्सीन्स और ये वो सब कुछ, जो भी सब प्रयास हुए, उन प्रयासों से वो अंडर कंट्रोल तो आ गई क्राइसिस. तो मेरा कहने का मकसद ये है कि ये केवल एनालिटिकल पर्पसेस के लिए वन साइडेड एम्फेसिस है, लेकिन अगर ये पर्पस हो कि होप की एनालिसिस हो, केवल उस पर फोकस हो कि इन क्राइसिस में होप क्या है, तो शायद वो एनालिसिस का कंटेक्स्ट बदल जाएगा, उसके अकॉर्डिंगली एनालिसिस भी बदल जाएगा. As far as the first issue was concerned, as could I follow, but in fact, there is hardly any doubt about it that world over, if we see the data, there is a very big middle class. I'm not talking about Indian context. It may be very small in Indian context, but in other parts of the world, particularly the developed world, or even in the world which can be considered as semi-developed, trying to develop very fast, we find a good deal of the middle class. And this middle class, I think, is important for in many ways, in many respects. One is that the middle class because it is an educated class, and it is a highly articulate class. It articulates. So middle class articulates all kinds of interest. My considered opinion, sir has analyzed in more depth, but when I analyze a movement and the role of the middle class leaders in the movement, I found that they were articulate the idea of ethnic identity in a more innovative way. I often give this example that the term Uttarakhandi, as it is coined politically, is very new term. And when this the subnational movement or movement for a separate state started, it was mainly led and driven by and also supported by the middle class of a region. So from this you can consider that middle class is not only dependent class, is not only a comparator class, is not only governed by other classes. It has its own independent way of not only looking at, but way of mobilization, way of leading forward and giving new kind of things. So it may not be true for all ethnic identities, but as far as Uttarakhandi identity and Uttarakhand Rajya movement was concerned, it was led and thought of, and mainly by creation of this middle class. So middle class is important in different respects and in a different context in different societies. Maybe weak in the developing world, maybe numerically weak in developing world, but very important. And that's true for our international movement also. Other issue, any other question?
Is there any other question, please?
So can we relate this to the functional concept of stratification, sir? Is there any objection?
Any issue of what?
Function, can we relate this theory to the functional theory of stratification, sir?
Statistics.
To the functional theory of stratification, sir.
Oh, no,
stratification concept.
Oh, thank you. No. I don't know. Perhaps at this moment, I don't think any connection because functional theory of stratification is very different kind of a theory. It's it definitely is it looks at stratification in a functional way, in a very different way. So normally functionalists do not talk about classes. If they talk about classes only as gradational term, they talk in terms of occupation, in terms of professions, occupational categories, and how occupations are functional for society as a whole. So stratification theory is a little different theory. It does not deal with it. However, many functionalists, they talked about classes or class, or middle class particularly, many functions. When you want to grade, if you consider Weber as a functionalist, perhaps Weber perhaps after even Marx could not write so much on middle classes as Weber wrote. So Weber talked about for these theorists, particularly Weber, and Weber's kinds of, if you consider him functionalist, Weber kinds of theory is uh, driven by issues of mobility, not issues of change. So those who talk in terms of classes only in life chances, they talk in terms of social mobility, mainly social mobility.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sir, आगे.
And in fact, I was here. The problem was that the light went. Because of that,
sorry.
it was affected. Anyway,
Sorry.
I missed parts of Professor Mishra's responses and so on. Is there any other question? One more chance, and that's the last. If there is any other question that any one of you have, you're welcome.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir. This is good evening, sir. This is Anuradha from Andhra University.
Okay.
Yes, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir. I have a small need like a small doubt. Like, do you think that these today we have a digital platforms and everything is digital? Like we have a completely our economy is completely based on economy. So these economy can reproduce the old form of class and racial inequality, or do they create a new pattern of stratification altogether?
Very difficult question.
Like,
I mean, yeah, you can explain further.
sir, actually, like present, we have many the complete economy is based on completely is digital, and most of the modern cultures have been it's been transforming from we are thinking that we are in modernization. So our complete economy is based on digital platforms. But these digital platforms or digital economy, can these be reproduced a new class or a racial inequality, or like do they create a new pattern of stratification altogether, or what?
Yeah, it's a good question. I agree with you to a certain extent that
Yes.
now terms like gig workers in modern times they are being used to understand this kind of dynamics which you are mentioning, or even even people are discussing that those who work on AI, on digital, on these different kinds of platforms, they are very knowledgeable also. So certain and they are expert, and when they become expert, their mobility is tremendous, and all of a sudden, some of them, if not many, they become class of entrepreneurs. So the issues of mobility linked with this kind of changing technology becomes important. So people think that the old kind of classification may not be relevant to understand the fast nature of dynamics of modern world. You know? This
Yes.
modern world is so dynamic, so we need certain other categories.
Yes, sir.
But I admit my weakness that the people like us, me particularly, we are also trained in a different era, and that kind of training, that kind of readings, and that kind of things are quite they remain ingrained in our thinking, and they remain ingrained. Sometimes this happens. However, I'm quite conscious that to some postmodernist and even people like Foucault, they could not disconnect categories, conceptual categories, with the epoch, with the time period, with the phases of time.
Yes,
So
sir.
therefore, this is your question becomes important. However, it does not happen that the corporate capitalist class as a class would dissolve with the rise of digital economies or all kinds of economy. You know that how they move from one kind of industrial economy to other kind of economy, very fast move from one kind to another, and they also link among them. So in that way, we can't say that almost a new kind of thinking is concerned, but I agree that some new kind of thinking is concerned. I
Okay, sir.
agree. I
Yes.
agree. The new economy would yield some new categories, or at least change in the old categories. I agree.
Yes, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any more? All right. Is there anybody in the audience who doesn't follow Hindi? Or everybody follows? मैं ये सवाल इसलिए कर रहा हूँ कि अगर सभी हिंदी को समझते हैं तो हिंदी में ही बात करूँ मैं।
हाँ, ये बेहतर है।
Sir, we request you to be bilingual because there are a good number of students from South India, from Andhra University, who cannot understand Hindi. So we urge you to be bilingual,
All
English
right.
as well as Hindi.
All right. That is the reason why I asked. So, friends, Professor Rajesh has provided a very comprehensive exposition of the theme that he chose to speak. And as a matter of fact, depends on which dimension of it you focus. There are several facets of the theme, but I would limit myself to the one on which he has focused. I have just there are three key terms in his exposition of the theme. Corporate class, or call it class as such. The second and extremely important, modernity or modernization, call it whatever you like. And the third, of course, is fault lines, or I would call them issues, because fault lines are nothing but issues, critical issues that are being raised or that have been sparked by these class and modernization. Now, as far as corporate, the class as such concerned, I would 100% agree with him that in the present context, rather than going into the traditional and the conventional kind of class analysis, these are the three which are crucial: the corporate class, the middle class, and the working class. And as a matter of fact, I would say that even working class is more or less eclipsed today. So actually, it is the corporate class and the middle class that are relevant. Now, the point is that the character of this corporate class is defined by capitalism itself, as the very term corporate, the adjective corporate indicates. When you're speaking of corporate class, it goes without saying that it is capitalism that is ruling the roost. It's capitalism that is defining it. It is capitalism that is defining the whole class character and the character of modernity, as also the kind of crises that have cropped up. Now, such is the, I would say, hold of this class. Of course, Rajesh has put it in his own way and in a very, very enjoyable way, for me at least. I recall a specific event our younger son was with IIM Calcutta as a faculty member for a couple of years there, and that provided me opportunity to visit IIM Calcutta. And a chance would have it, there was a convocation for the batch of MBAs and others produced by IIM Ahmedabad, which is the leading most institution. Murthy was there to deliver the valedictory address. And what was the central concern of the address that he delivered? His advice to the graduates, the people who were graduating and going out to serve the country. He was saying, see, I know you are going to work to promote capitalism, but try, my suggestion, my advice to you is, let it be compassionate capitalism. Now, it set me thinking, people of the Infosys owner or founder, Murthy, he is advising the graduates to perpetuate capitalist class only with the suggestion that you should be compassionate in dealing with the people in your but you are going to serve the middle class. So the point that Professor Rajesh Mishra made it extremely pertinent, extremely important, that it is the capitalist class which is the dominant class. When he was defining the characteristics of this corporate class, the concept of dominant caste of M.N. Srinivas came to my mind, and I thought, why not call it dominant class? This is the dominant class. It controls all the resources. It has complete control over all the resources. It controls even the minds of the people in many ways. And clearly, this is the class that is defining the modern world, in the making of the modern world. If there is one class that is playing a central and a pivotal role, it is this corporate class. And therefore, I couldn't agree more with him that here we are to understand the making of the modern world in terms of class structure. Now, the second important point is about modernization. Professor Rajesh Mishra is right in analyzing modernization in terms of the four features which are relevant, but there are two ways of looking at modernization now. There is a conventional way of looking at it, and there is a dynamic way of looking at it. From the conventional standpoint, the manner in which he treated it, it has been an excellent treatment, or excellent treat, I would say. But excellent in the sense that for every one of us present here should be crystal clear, no problems, no confusions about it. However, there is a dynamic concept of modernization. The point is that modernization has acquired a unique character in each nation where it has gained foot, which has gained some kind of ascendancy. Because the tradition of that place, the ethos of that place, the culture of that place, be it India, be it Africa, be it any part you go to, the character of modernization is different. It is not the same everywhere. Surely there may be, one can go on expanding on it, that these can be, pinned down only to these four characteristics. To that, I would only say that at the time when I wrote about it, I reduced it to only one: rationalization or rationality, because it is the rationality that underlies industrialization of economy. It is the rationality that underlies democracy. It is the rationality that underlies secularization. It is the rationality that underlies rationalization, the four features. So but that's a conventional way of looking at modernization. The more advanced way, the dynamic way is that the character of modernity is not the same everywhere, and the historicity of it, not in terms of its Western origins, but in terms of its working in the host country. The culture of the host country, the tradition of the host country, the ethos of the host country has given it a different twist, a different character, which is what is important to note. Yet, another point about modernization that I would like to make is, see, the crises that Rajesh has discussed and analyzed. In fact, I have done that kind of thing in terms of development, not modernization. I sent a paper to him, I believe about a year back or so. I wonder if he found time to go through it. It is titled Political Economy of Climate Crisis. Political economy of climate change. This is the, and this was published in Economic and Political Weekly as a special article. It is not modernization. Actually, it is development, the so-called development, which is defining the total contour of the world. Modernization was important. It's a, of course, precursor to development. Not only precursor, it is an accompaniment, but at the same time, it is also one of the strategies of modernization. As a matter of fact, the latest strategy of development, the latest means by which development is being brought about is globalization. Modernization was one means to bring about development. Globalization is the extended logic of modernization, which has further promoted globalization. Even as they are talking of deglobalization, the fact of the matter is that globalization prevails. Globalization exists. It rules the roost. So this is about the modernization. I'm not saying that we cannot explain it in terms of modernization, the class structure and the making of modern world. But what I'm saying is that along with modernization, as a matter of fact, equally important, if not more, is the whole perspective of development, because the world is being, projected in terms of it. It has always been projected, particularly since industrialization. Earlier, 3 levels: developed, underdeveloped, and undeveloped. Then now it is different. They are, as a matter of fact, going ahead. They are going beyond, I would say, beyond development, and they are now saying, oh, forget about that, because the underdeveloped countries or the so-called third world countries, they are not comfortable with this development classification. Therefore, let us forget about it. We will talk only in terms of 3 classes: the billionaire class, the class of billionaires, and the class of middle and upper category, and the lower class. This is the 3-4, they say it, high income countries, low and middle income countries, and low income countries. This is the classification now. So, because they say that since you are uncomfortable, the developing countries, you are uncomfortable with the word development, you don't wish to be called developing or underdeveloped. Therefore, forget about it. Let us class, the basis of class is income. Now, so the income per capita or income in general, or maybe, this is also being called into question. This is also being questioned in the sense, they say, no, it's not income. It's not basic income. It is purchasing power of the people, which should be. This is what the developing countries are telling these modern countries or so-called developed countries. So in terms of class now, the latest framework is not in terms of corporate, and of course it corresponds with the three or corresponds to those 3 categories. But there is the high income countries, there are high income countries, there are low and middle income countries, and there are low income countries. Now, India falls in the low and middle income countries. Many developing countries indeed fall in that category. So this is about the question of development and the class linkages, and which of course then can be further connected with the modernization context. So this is about the class part. The third part, the crisis. To me, it seems in terms of class structure, of course, as I said earlier, there are many facets of it. Professor Rajesh Mishra himself indicated the fault lines are several, many indeed. The gender fault line, the caste fault line, the race fault line, the religious fault line. There are any number of fault lines. Development is also a fault line for that purpose. So, but since we are at the moment concerned only with one, that is class, primarily, what's important here is in what sense class structure is a problem? I don't know. Maybe the time when the light was off here, Professor Mishra, or some of you who put questions touched on this point. But one thing that I would like to share is, to me, it seems that the essence of class structure is inequality. The quintessence of class structure is inequality. Now, the real fault line is inequality, which directly gets anchored into the class structure. थोड़ा सा बोझल हो रहा है सारा माहौल, एक आध शेर सुनाकर आपको थोड़ा हल्का कर देता हूँ इसे. No.
नहीं, it's very enlightening, sir. You keep, please.
शायर कहते हैं, बड़े लोगों से मिलने में, बड़े लोगों से उनका मतलब अमीर लोगों से है, बड़े लोगों से मिलने में जरा सा फासला रखना, ये हाथ भी न मिलाएंगे गर गले मिलोगे तुम. बड़े लोगों से मिलने में जरा सा फासला रखना, इसको अगर दूसरे ढंग से हम कहें तो बड़े लोगों से मिलने में जरा सा फासला रखना, दरिया जब सागर में गिरता है तो दरिया नहीं रहता. दरिया कहते हैं नदी, समुद्र में जाती हैं ये नदियां. तो जहां नदी समुद्र में जाके गिरी उसका अस्तित्व खत्म, उसकी खत्म, उसकी पहचान खत्म, वो उसमें मिल गई. यही हाल है क्लास स्ट्रक्चर का. This corporate class is trying to accommodate through the so-called compassionate capitalism. एक बड़ा अभी हाल में किताब आई बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग, इस क्लास स्ट्रक्चर से रिलेटेड. Why don't poor kill the rich or kill us? That is the title of the book. मनु जोसेफ ने लिखी बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग किताब है. उसने सवाल उठाया है कि भाई जितनी जबरदस्त असमानता है, the extent and the magnitude of inequality, the range, look at it now. It is here that is important. Even in terms of Indian context and Indian data, Indian surveys, there are two opinions. There is a set of or a group of economists who are maintaining that inequality is on decline. It is going down. Inequality is going down. They have cited their studies, number of studies. There is Shukla, there is Bhalla, there are a number of the economists. But the other day I happened to read, I hope even some of you might have read it. Other day I happened to read an article in Times of India written by Abhijit Banerjee, the Nobel laureate. Beautifully he says that any one of us who is familiar with the survey data today in India knows very well that it misses one thing. And what it misses is the billionaire class, the top of the ladder. There is no data on that. Would you believe it that India is ranked third among the billionaires in the world. India, which until yesterday was known as a backward economy, today it is number 3 in the world in terms of number of, we have as many as 205 billionaires in India today. That was the July 25 data. Now, so you can well imagine. And now what the point is that our surveyors either don't have the access to these homes, because they are gated homes, gated communities. You don't get permission to enter into their houses, the Arabpatis, the billionaires, or even if they somehow manage to get into that, they are said, this time we don't have time. Please come later, come back again. The data is missing. And that is the reason why the government of India, of course, naturally patronizes that set of economists who are maintaining that inequality is on decline. The fact of the matter is that inequality is sharpening. Inequality is deepening in India. I mean, it doesn't take any study. We can see for ourselves how the range, the vast distance between those at the top who are, who make only 1% of the population, they are commanding as much as 65% of the resources. And the rest of the 2 classes have to do with the leftover. So, I mean, you look at it in any way, what you find is that this is the class which is not captured in our surveys. And that is the reason why, so my only, I think I should not take any longer. My only point is that the most important crisis is inequality. I'm not underestimating the crisis of climate or the crisis of, ethnicity or other things. But to me, it seems that the real fault line is inequality. And therefore, we sociologists would do well to really address this question. Why? Why is it that the inequality is so rampant and it is being so easily tolerated? The question, why don't the poor kill the rich? It's a critical question, it's significant. There are answers to it. I don't have time to go into that. So these are my 3 brief comments. In the end, I would only say 2 things, both in sort of share. See, I'm particularly addressing the organizers. आपने हमें ये मौका दिया, इसके लिए बहुत आभारी हैं। इस सिलसिले में एक छोटा सा शेर है, ख्वाहिश नहीं मुझे मशहूर होने की, ख्वाहिश नहीं मुझे मशहूर होने की, आप हमें पहचानते हैं, बस इतना ही काफी है। And in the end, I would say to all of you, this is addressed to all of you. The apt attention, the kind of commitment, the kind of engagement and involvement with which you heard Professor Rajesh Mishra, I commend all that. You have suffered me even after he has given you his excellent proposition or exposition. For that, a small 2 lines. आपकी तारीफ में जब मैं सब कुछ कह गया, तब मेरे दिल ने कहा बाकी बहुत कुछ रह गया. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir.
Just-
For your enlightening deliberation.
Just 2 sentences,
Yes, sir, please,
if time
please.
permits. है ना?
Yes,
I
sir,
mean,
please.
thank you so
Yeah,
much.
sure, sir. We have plenty of time.
Thank you so much, Professor Sharma ji. Sir, I'm really grateful, and I mean, your comments are not only enriching but also enlightening. And immediately, I have added one more crisis within my fourfold to make it fivefold. One is inequality, because I have studied inequality. Um, Supriya knows it better, that on her work on inequality, we have deliberated so much. So thank you very much. I mean, thank Professor Sharma that you have reminded me to include this as one of the crises.
I can
Thank you.
only say I have benefited a great deal from your exposition, as also from the interactions that we have had.
I have always enriched and enlightened your comments. I mean, it's 5 decades now, whenever we meet.
Thank you so much, sir. It was so nice to listen to both of you, and we are really enlightened after this talk. Now, I request Professor Murthy, sir, who is the convener of RC08, to please give vote of thanks.
Yeah.
Murthy, sir.
It was indeed a great delight listening to two giants of sociology. In true spirit, I would say that we are enormously benefited. So, though they are eminent professors, but their reach has been to a commoner of sociology. That see, in this particular lecture, many people with different levels of knowledge have participated. So the lectures are so highly spirited and down to earth at the same time, reaching out to each and every participant. That I would say the hallmark of this lecture. We are so delighted. See, the concepts are so well explained and well contextualized. Marxian context, concepts contextualized in the modern world, and they have generated a lot of interest to probe further, particularly to the youngsters. Okay, so I have really no words to explain these high-spirited lectures of these two giants of sociology. Thank you very much, sir.
Credit is due to Professor Mishra and Supriya.
Thank you.
Okay, it has
Thank
been
you
a
so
great pleasure interacting with you. Wow.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Now.